What are pyramids? Why do they show up in every culture? And what is the function of them?
And can I just say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because some people would say the pyramid is just the easiest physical structure to create at that size, right? Because if you create a building that just goes straight up, wind can rock it side by side and it goes. Right. Whereas a pyramid is just the most stable structure. So that would be like the. What do you call like the mainstream thought? What is that? What do you refer to?
They're saying that it's no. The pharaohs are buried in there.
What do you call mainstream thinking in your discipline? Do you call it what is that?
You talking about
what is the term? No, the term that you would use for like what they teach in school. Well,
mainstream.
Okay,
mainstream.
So the mainstream thinking would be the boring one, the one that we didn't ask you to come on this show to talk about at all. So please do not say, the physics works best for a pyramid. But they would just go, hey. When kids are building with blocks, they eventually realize if they build it too tall, it falls down. So let's build in this way, and then that creates a pyramid. Yeah. But I'm sure you have something way more interesting.
Work. So I'll go into the structure of the pyramid and constructing, and I'll go into why. So what's interesting is the pyramids.
Is there any time where you're reading this and like you see an explanation that makes a little bit more sense, and you're just like, oh, that shit sucks?
No, I look into everything. See, what I do is I research everything, and sometimes over time, some of my theories evolve.
Good.
And I think that's a true sign of someone who's really seeking real knowledge.
Yeah, but don't evolve them too boring.
Versus somebody who's just into dogma. Because once I get so hard set into my own theories, and I'm not willing to take any new input, now I'm just a preacher at a church.
Facts.
Literally, I'm just pitching dogma at that point.
Yeah. So today, it's church. I just want to let you know. This is church, and you can preach all you want. Yeah.
So, well,
Billy getting loose. We might need some tequila.
Reverend Carson.
Do you drink it all?
I don't drink, no.
Okay, nothing. Weed?
I don't smoke either.
Nothing?
Yeah, nothing, yeah.
Really? What about DMT?
Just water.
Or mushrooms?
I just do water.
So, because
water and coffee.
I'm sure you've heard of the profound effects of
a lot of great effects.
Psychedelics.
A lot of people have helped a lot of people. I have nothing against it.
I'm talking on the ancients.
Oh yeah, listen, I talk about it in my podcast. It's real ancient stuff, but it will rewire your brain. And so once I read that, because I research everything before I do anything, I realized, well, I like the way my brain is structured right now.
So you don't want to rewire.
If there's any slight risk that I could lose my memory system, it scares me.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Because my memory system is really good. Like my ability, my recall capability.
Yeah, your attention is on point. Yeah.
So I'm like, what if I do this and I lose that because it rewires? Not that I'm afraid to do it. I don't want to lose my file cabinet.
Got it.
That's really all it is.
Okay, have you always been like that? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Like since you were a child?
Since I was a child, I started reading at 1 year. I was reading at 10 months child books, but by 1 I was reading real books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as a toddler, I read my first novel, which was The Sea Wolf by Jack London. Yeah, not that big of a novel, but I read it. So anyway, the pyramids. Now let's take a look at the structure.
How do you even understand the things in the book? Like
I don't know. I always knew stuff. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I had a brother who was only 1 year younger than me, and my sister was 6 years younger than me. And I would look at them and I'd say, these are real kids. They're like babies, but nobody could see what I could see.
Wow.
I told my mom.
Did you think that your siblings were stupid?
No, I just thought that they were babies.
So you knew that you were operating as an adult.
Yeah, something was a little different.
Got it. But you thought that the expectation for them was normal and you were different.
Yeah, because I tried to talk to them about my stuff and they just couldn't. They couldn't rap. They couldn't even understand what I was trying to tell. I'm sorry. I gave up.
Okay.
I've been walking around for decades with all this stuff in my head, just kind of like wandering through the wastelands of life,
Who do you think read more, you or Cat Williams?
Cat Williams read more.
Oh, really?
You don't think you got
I'm not
Cat?
going to compete with him.
You don't think you got Cat?
I'm not going to. I read over 1,000 scriptures, cylinder. I have 1,500 books in my house that I've read. That's one. But I've read over 1,000 scriptures, cylinder scrolls, papyruses, ancient text tablets, you name it, from all around the world.
Take that, Cat.
So, but I'm not going to take anything away from whatever he said he read. So yeah.
Okay, pyramid.
Okay, pyramid. So let's look at first thing, the structure. Okay, these blocks are all different. They're not the same exact size.
Right.
They're all custom made and custom fit. So the Lego theory would work
If it was all.
If the blocks were all the same. In other words, I know these blocks go for this particular, these blocks are going to be the same size no matter what. I can stack them over here or intermingle them. Every block is individually custom made to fit right where it is. So that becomes very, very difficult. It's like the Great Pyramid, over 2 million blocks of stone, and nobody realized that they're all different 2 million blocks. They're all, each individual stone is totally different from the other one, which means you can't make a cookie cutter and say, okay, we got these blocks ready, let's stack them up. Didn't quite work that way because they're all different. Now you have to take into consideration also the subterranean part of the Great Pyramid. The subterranean, like the subterranean shaft, which cuts through solid stone and goes down 65 meters, then another 30 meters down beneath that, which I've been down there. How in the world did they cut that through solid stones that were already stacked? Some type of a laser cutting tool. And if you look at the mud ramp theory, the floating theory is a farce. You can't float these stones. The second thing we'll look at would be the mud ramp theory.
The floating theory, really quick, is the idea was that the Nile ran right up against.
Right.
I think the pier. So they were taking the stones from the Aswan Valley, I'm pretty sure.
Some of the granite from Aswan and then some of the stones from not too far away.
But the idea is that you could float them up the Nile.
Right.
So they weren't, because the original theory, I think, was that they were rolling them across the sand. And people were like, how could you possibly do that? But the floating theory, I guess, makes sense in terms of a human's capability to move a heavy object.
Yeah. But you have to displace the mass.
Right.
What are you displacing mass with for that level of mass in water? Highly unlikely that they would be able to displace that much mass to keep them floating. Otherwise, they'd sink. I mean, look at all the mafia movies. They just throw you in. You don't come back up. And you have a lot of air in your lungs too.
Yeah. What were they using? Oh, fuck. There's like a video of this. What were they using to keep them afloat?
I forget, palm leaves or something. It was something ridiculous. It wasn't too bright.
It was on logs or something like that, maybe. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. But anyway, so you have that, but then also you have to take a look at the mud ramp theory, which is you need more mass than the Great Pyramid in mud to actually have the mud ramps. So now you have to move more mass than the 2 billion blocks to make the ramp. Again, didn't make any sense.
The ramp is how they were building the pyramid up in that way, so you need a ramp to bring the blocks up.
Right, right.
And then when you get on top, do they just slide down? Like, I'm so confused about how you finish that final stone.
It's a bad theory. It's a bad theory.
Well, I guess you could.
So once you start really analyzing the stones, the structures, the way that they're interlocked, you see there's an interlocking design system. And each stone is custom made to be put in place, which means it needs to be created at the moment that it's needed. How do you do that? How you're going to get this stone up this mud ramp or float it up into this area and then put it into a spot that it doesn't really fit? Oh, I made a mistake. It doesn't go here. Doesn't make any sense. The blueprint for the Great Pyramid, for example, was so sound, they had foreknowledge of exactly how to build it and why. And so you see that these stones were made and cut and put into place exactly, precisely when needed. It didn't take 20 years, in my opinion. It probably took maybe less than a year to build that pyramid. Now, what's the purpose of the Great Pyramid?
Why less than a year?
Well, if you look at I took my
I've been there. I've seen it.
Yeah, took my Geiger counter.
Yeah.
And my compass and everything else, and you start to realize that this is so high tech. It's like throwing up a house in my neighborhood. It takes them 18 months to throw a house up.
Yeah.
This is not one of those things where we're trying to figure it out as we go. This is something that has been done so many times.
Gotcha.
It's common knowledge.
So this is advanced planning. They had the the logistics and the schematics all built out. You need to for how sophisticated it is. I subscribe to that.
Right.
They're not throwing it all together.
Well, check this out. The Great Pyramid, if you calculating by the size of the base and the size of the stones, you can calculate the time 365 days in a year. You can calculate the distance from the Earth to the moon. You can calculate the distance from the Earth to the sun. You can calculate the speed of the Earth around the sun, the speed of the Earth on its axis, the speed of the sun around the Milky Way galaxy, and the speed of the Milky Way galaxy around the local cluster, all from the Great Pyramid mathematics. So now you got to tell me, how in the world did that fit in with the rolling logs, the water, or the mud ramp? We're talking about advanced technology, advanced beings that made that pyramid as a time capsule of incredible knowledge. A star map even is built into it to tell us who was here in the ancient past and who did it and how. When you take all the temples that are around the pyramid and the other two pyramids that are next to it, and you look at it from the sky looking down, and you connect them, you get a inner planet system of our solar system. You get the sun in the middle, you get Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. So you get the interplanetary solar system from Giza looking straight down. And what's incredible is when you take the NASA interplanetary solar map and you overlay it on that diagram, it matches down to the millimeter. Was NASA around back then?
No.
I'm just asking for a friend. So obviously they knew what the hell they were doing. And also the distance from the sun to the earth and to all these other planets by the astronomical unit, which is in astrophysics. How did they get that? The Grand Gallery leading up to the King's Chamber, the longitude is the exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second. People,
really?
Meters didn't exist back then.
You're telling that like stared tunnel that goes there? Really?
Yeah, the location is the exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second. But guess what I found?
What's that?
I found Proto-Sumerian cuneiform in Mesoamerica on pottery and also tablets that show a Proto-Sumerian metric system. And I didn't find it myself, obviously, but I found the record of it and documentation of it. It's legitimate. And so the metric system existed long before that French guy discovered it. He only rediscovered what already existed.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like, man, then you look at the pyramid, it was sitting on top of an aquifer. The aquifer is dry now because the Nile is gone, the war happened and everything else. But when you have running water underneath magnetized crystal granite, you get physiostatic electricity. Those ions push up into the Grand Gallery. Some of the water comes up and goes down into the Queen's Chamber. I'll talk about that in a second. The energy from those ions moves up into the King's Chamber. It stepped up. Well, before it had to have that little box there. The box was added, by the way. Before that box was there, it had the capability of creating fusion and sending electricity through the apex. When the pyramid was broken, the structure was broken, they added that box. That box is the same exact dimensions as the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the
box
Covenant
you're talking about is that like tomb-like structure?
That rose granite box that's inside, yeah.
Yeah, how would they even get that in there?
Yeah, they added it later on. How did they get? I think a lot of the stuff I think they teleported or manifested. But look and listen to this. Check this out. Let me tell you. Let me tell you where I get that from. Let me tell you where I get it from. Listen, in the emerald, listen to me.
Billy, come on.
In the emerald tablets, listen to me. No, I'm gonna give you some science now.
Okay.
In the emerald tablets,
give us the science.
Listen to me. In the emerald tablets, Thoth talks about manifesting solid matter. He talks about it as a specific way, manifesting solid matter.
I mean, it is when you're in there insane to get this too.
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you. He manifests solid matter from photons and cymatic frequencies.
Cymatic frequencies.
Yeah.
What is that?
Sound waves.
Fuck.
Yeah. So we know that in string theory and quantum physics that the way that the universe is formed and shaped is all based on vibrating microscopic strings that are emanating matter into existence through this frequency creates the illusion of reality. He's talking about this 36,000 years ago. Well, just 5 years ago, 2 scientists in a laboratory in the UK used for the first time ever photons and cymatics to manifest solid matter in a laboratory. Duplicatable, became peer-reviewed science. Peer-reviewed science.
Okay,
so we've now rediscovered a way to create matter from photons and sound frequencies.
And I'm imagining they're doing this on a microscopic level.
Yes, on a very small level.
But the idea is if it could be done on a very small level, then it could potentially be done on a very large level.
Oh, now you're talking about literally manifesting entire structures.
Oh.
You send into the computer the blueprint you want.
So this is 3D printing.
And this thing prints out a whole building like this.